predicting the future results, analyzing the results versus the prediction, developing new insights, and then applying them. None of that happens on its own, which is why in many organizations, it is not happening. And what we're doing is we are missing out on opportunities to learn on where we were right or where we were wrong.
Put that coffee down.
Creators are leaders. Be careful what kind of leaders you're producing here.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
Well, hello there, friends. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Bradley Hartmann, and on this show, we bring you ideas and insights from leaders across the construction industry every single week to help you lead more effectively. This episode is brought to you by the Simple Sales Pipeline. If you are not with consistency and discipline forecasting every single month your future revenue, you, my friend, are flying blind. However, we can solve that quickly in under 30 minutes with the Simple Sales Pipeline, custom built for the construction industry. Where can you learn more? Great question. TheSimpleSalesPipeline.com. Now, as I am recording this on Friday, March 24th, March Madness is absolutely underway, and we are having a ton of fun. From Furman's incredible victory to Purdue's stunning collapse as the second, not the first, that's Virginia, second ever number 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed, to Fairleigh Dickinson, I don't even know how to say it, FDU, which, gosh, if there's ever a fantastic acronym that we can fill in with various words, it's FDU. Anyway, the March Madness is underway.
Jerome Tang sets it up, going for the lob! Keontae Johnson on the receiving end. He's got Hauser defending him. There's the pass, and it is Masood, and Masood hits a huge shot. Ooh, almost a steal. Vescovy gives it up. James steps into a three-pointer, and it's good. Big shot for Tennessee. Here's Vescovy now for three. No. Davis comes out of the pack. Boyd running up ahead. Boyd to the rack. He lays it in. 8 seconds left. Smith drives. Blocked from behind with 1.5 on the clock. The lob, and that will do it. FDU believe it for just the second time ever. A 16 beats a 1.
Now, like many of you, I filled out my own bracket, and I'm a huge basketball fan. However, quite frankly, I do not follow college basketball at all until we get to kind of the conference championships, which mean I then see one team play for one half and develop some very, very strong opinions and overconfident opinions on how well they will do while watching a ridiculously small sample size of this team. And I put together my bracket and I feel really confident. And then I join a fundraiser for a friend of mine who works at the Lester Group in Virginia. And there's like 96 people. And I get my wife in there and my 11-year-old in there thinking, I know a lot about hoops. I know what's going on. And then I find myself, as I do now, 92nd out of 96 random people. My wife is beating me. My 11-year-old is beating me, along with almost the rest of America. Why? Well, my final four was Baylor, Purdue, Houston, and UCLA. I don't think I need to say anything more to Purdue. Those guys feel terrible enough. I cannot believe UCLA blew the game last night. I watched that whole game against Gonzaga, and I'm only rooting against Gonzaga because they have so many white guys who are wearing headbands and have ridiculous mustaches. I don't know how they blew that, so that killed me. So I still got Houston. But this is not a podcast to explain why I'm terrible this year at selecting who's going to win March Madness. What we are going to talk about here is what I think as a very important paradox in life that we all share. In that, in business and in our personal lives and throughout our normal days of making decisions, we very rarely, if at all, document our predictions to understand if the choices we are making are accurate or not. So we don't do this in general, but then one time a year at scale with March Madness, do we make multiple selections that indicate how we feel about a certain team. Now, some of these are acknowledged as complete guesses. Others of you, and you know who I'm talking to, you think you know a lot. And then you document this thing and you realize, actually, you were wrong about a lot of these things. We collectively do this during March Madness, but we rarely do it at all in our personal life. And I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking about the Super Bowl. I make a prediction there. Well, it's a 50-50 situation. There are lots and lots of different combinations. Millions, billions, trillions, I don't even know. Probably more like trillions. Trillions of potential combinations of what can happen in March Madness. So we all document this. So one time a year, we see how well we did and understand and potentially learn from the choices that we made based on our forecast, based on our predictions. And what I try to do more often, and I try to encourage my team to do it, and we help our clients do it, is to understand the assumptions that we are making, document them now based on the information that we have now about what we think is going to happen in the future. And when those things do happen, we can look back and say, that's interesting. I was totally wrong. Or, yep, I was thinking accurately, and that is exactly what happened. Regardless of what happens when you make a prediction, you are able to learn. You are able to learn and question what you knew. And if you don't do this, what happens is we all walk around, we make decisions, we find out that we were right on some and we were wrong on others. But many of these decisions are having really, really big impacts on who we hire, new products to launch, decisions to make on who to challenge, how we compete with competitors in the marketplace, how we price products. We are making decisions all the time, but the learning is always optional. And if we don't make a prediction, what we do is we have this hindsight bias where the things that we either knew or didn't know, we then kind of construct this narrative that makes it more obvious, thinking, well, of course FDU has a chance against Purdue because all they've got is one 7'4" guy. And if you had a bunch of really small guys all just crowding around him, that could be annoying. They have a chance. That seems like a less crazy thing to say now than it did going into the game where me and many other people thought Purdue not only was going to win that first game against FDU, they were going to win the whole thing. They were going to be national champs. Now looking back, we're like, well, yeah, the other guys don't shoot and they shoot 19% from three. Well, of course they can lose. Anybody can lose. That's why, after all, they play the game. So that's why I'm titling this episode, Madness Happens Beyond March, and the learning is always optional. And what I'd like to encourage you to do is help your team make more predictions. Put those on paper so you can learn from them in the future and adjust the way that you think. And we often hear about this person who may have 15 years of experience. And do they have 15 years of experience? Or do they have 1 year of experience 15 times? And they're not updating their thinking and they're not learning from the numerous other outcomes that have happened to inform their judgment. So we have a real simple 5-step process that we use. And probably the most simplistic way that you've heard me do this is when on the podcast, I ask someone on a scale of 0 to 100, rate their confidence in this being true. And what that does, and we do this all the time, and my team gets annoyed with me, is that we document those and then we say, all right, what do we think is going to happen here? And there's often differing opinions, and that is good. And we'll document those and we'll say, all right, I was wrong. You were right. Okay, how can we collectively update our thinking to make better decisions that are more accurate and faster in the future? So we have this real simple 5-step model. If you go to bradleyhartmanandco.com/tools, you will then go to a page where you have to put in a password because we're not just giving away our stuff for free. Okay. Hartmann, all lowercase, 2 N's, Hartmann. And you will see the 5-step prediction model. You can download it there. So bradleyhartmanandco.com/tools. You can download this 5-step prediction model. And here's where it all starts. We want folks to continue, and I would challenge you to continue or start making more consistent predictions. What do you think is going to happen? How much are we going to sell next month? On a scale of 0 to 100, how will we rate this new hire on October 1st? Make that guess right now. And then every month or every quarter or whatever, you can then go update that based on the new information that's available. It starts with a prediction. So in this 5-step model, the first one is you want to predict future results. If you don't predict future results, that means to some degree, you are foregoing on the possibility of learning when the actual outcome arrives. So step 1 is predict future results. Ask people how they feel, 0 to 100, 0 to 10. I don't care. Get a prediction, put people on the line, and make them document how they feel about the future on a certain aspect. Number 2 is you're going to perform the key activities. So we're going to make a prediction. I think this person's going to be really, really good. And come October 1st, I will rate them a 90 out of 100. All right. Well, step 2 is we just live. We just do our daily lives. We perform our key activities. Now, of the 5 steps in this 5-step model, only step number 2, perform key activities, happens on its own. It's the only one that you do not have to be intentional about. If you got a salesman, he's going to go sell something. If you got a superintendent, he's going to manage the construction of something. If you got a CEO, he's going to show up at the office and he's going to do whatever the CEO does. My point is, step 2 of perform key activities. You do not need to worry about this. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen because people have a job and they're going to do those activities. So number 1 is predict future results. Number 2 is perform key activities. Step 3 says, let's take a step back and let's analyze what happened versus our prediction. Again, this is non-obvious. You need to allocate time on your schedule to take a step back and say, what happened? How do we view this? And how close were we given our confidence level? So predict future results, perform key activities. Don't worry, it's going to happen on its own. Analyze results versus prediction. Step 4 is develop insights. Now, occasionally when we're dealing with executive teams and we are implementing something like this, step 3 and 4 seem similar. Analyze results versus prediction and develop insights. While there is some nuance here, these are distinct steps. Your ability to put time on the schedule, to step back and analyze the results versus what you thought were going to happen, your prediction, is different than generating insights. You can take a step back and say, that's interesting. I had a 95% confidence level that we were going to complete drywall by this date. And not only did we not make that date, we were 3 weeks off. That's interesting. All right. If you analyze that, you quantify that, you can dig into that to figure out what we're talking about and why it happened. That is one step. The insights, which is, okay, what's the signal from the noise? What can we draw out of this to learn from, to then improve in the future, to make a change to the schedule or behaviors or coaching or training, or maybe just it's our own prediction. It was a crappy prediction. Why would I think we could complete that in enough time? The point is this, there's a difference between analyzing the results versus your prediction and developing the insights. And I'm not going to go down a 90-minute session on how to consistently and deliberately generate insights. And there's someone out there better. His name is Rich Horwath. We've had him on the show. He's a strategy guru. I would strongly recommend everybody buy Deep Dive by him on strategy and how to build a team that consistently generates new insights. It's not hard, but you have to be really intentional about it. And there are some things that fall into the category of you must do, and also the category of what not to do. And then 5 is apply insights. So now that we have these insights, how do we apply them? How do we coach it? How do we train it? How do we behave? And then that goes right back to step number 1. We're going to make another prediction. So again, step 1, predict future results. Step 2, perform key activities. Step 3, analyze results versus the prediction. Step 4, develop these insights. And 5, apply the insights. I realize as audio only, this might seem complex. It's not. Go to, again, bradleyhartmanandco.com/tools. Input the password Hartmann, all lowercase, Hartmann. Again, of these 5 steps, only step 2, perform activities, happens on its own. It's going to happen automatically. Predicting the future results, analyzing the results versus the prediction, developing new insights, and then applying them, none of that happens on its own, which is why in many organizations, it is not happening. And what we're doing is we are missing out on opportunities to learn on where we were right or where we were wrong. And sometimes I have found consistently, I'm right in the answer. I guessed right. My prediction for the future was right. But if I look at the underlying assumptions on why I thought that was going to happen in the future, they are totally off base. So I thought something was going to happen because of A, B, and C. And I realized that actually that outcome did happen. I was pretty darn close and I was right. However, if I look underneath the hood as to how that happened, it wasn't A, B, and C. It was X, Y, and Z. So I was right, but still kind of clueless. That gives me an opportunity to learn and update my ability to forecast well. And obviously we are doing a lot of this with the simple sales pipeline. That is a tool to do exactly this and to draw out some of these insights and to analyze this data. But this can be done on anything. How do I know? Because you're doing it now. You're doing it with March Madness. And if you filled out a bracket, you just went through for 68 teams or 64 teams or whatever, and you made those decisions. Now, some of them were pure guesses. Others may have been more thoughtful. But regardless, you made the predictions, and now you learn, like I did, on how terrible I am at predicting this. If you told me prior to making these selections that in the future, I would learn out of almost 100 people, I would be in the 5th percentile. That would include people who don't even watch basketball, like my wife and like my 11-year-old. I would say, get out of here. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. Why? Because it's average, and I'm probably average here. I'm not. I'm so much worse than average, at least in 2023. Now, come 2024, I'm probably going to be doing that whole thing all over again. And I'm going to be overconfident in schools that I either attended, thanks for nothing, Illinois, or schools that I like, Purdue. I'm talking about you. And I'm going to overlook these smaller schools like Florida Atlantic University and UConn and these other schools. And we're going to make some other biases and other errors for schools that did well this year. I'm going to assume they're going to do well next year. And that's going to be wrong. And we're going to continue this cycle of making predictions and improving, or at least just proving for me on how every single year I'm really, really bad at making this prediction. And I will be comfortable with that. There's a ton of research out there that shows us while we know change is always happening, we consistently underestimate how much change will happen in the future. That's just part of our wiring of being human beings. This is a way to improve. It's the 5-step prediction model: predict future results, perform those key activities, analyze the results versus the prediction, develop new insights, and then apply them and start back over with predictions. Making more predictions is the path to more learning. Again, go to bradleyhartmanandco.com and you can download, after putting in the password Hartmann, all lowercase, Hartmann, you can download this 5-step prediction model. Have some fun with this. Document more predictions, increase your learning. If you make more predictions and you learn more, you, my friend, will put yourself in more situations to have your own one shining moment.
In one shining moment, it's all on the line. In one shining moment, they're frozen in time.
All right, friends, that's all I've got. Given, since my Final Four includes Baylor, Purdue, and UCLA, I guess I'm going to root for Houston to win this whole thing. And by the time you're hearing this, I will probably be proved wrong once again, and I will finish last out of 96 people in this pool. Nonetheless, that's all I've got. Thanks for listening. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great week.